Since most of you chose qualitative data as your first property to investigate throughout the PBL, we're going to go over physical properties and changes so that everybody's on the same page moving forward. So first, it's important to know what matter is. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. So you are essentially matter because you have mass and you take up space. Physical properties. We've been throwing these words around, so hopefully this definition is familiar to you. It's a property that you can observe using your five senses, and it can also be measured without changing the material's composition. So on Monday, you guys responded with what a physical property in your words was. Here is the actual definition. Okay, so here are some examples. What do you think these mean? So the paint cans would be color. The gold might be luster. And this ice and water might be the state of matter. So here are all the words that you should receive and learn before test day. Some of these you may have covered during your qualitative data. Some of them are not qualitative, some of them are quantitative. So some of these are quantitative, and so you wouldn't be doing these as your first property. So conductivity, you guys might remember this from your MeWe trip to Cub Run. It's basically if something conducts electricity, which means it's allowing energy to flow through it. So wires are conductors. Rubber is the opposite, which is considered an insulator. Luster is just another way to say shiny. So is your sample shiny or not? So if it doesn't have luster, that means it is not shiny. Texture, it's the feel, so tactile, appearance or consistency of a surface or substance. So you really don't have to touch it. You can look at it and see if it is rough or smooth. Odor is basically how something smells. So normally you might think of odor having a negative connotation, meaning it has a negative meaning, but really it can be positive as well. Hardness is really only used when talking about rocks, and it's to see if something is able to be scratched. Magnetism, some of you tried this when you were investigating property number 1, and it's the ability to attract and repel a magnet. These next two words are ones that you may not have seen before, but they are kind of important. So things that are malleable can be hammered into thin sheets, and I have a really dumb way of remembering it. You buy your sheets right here, at the mall. Ductile can be made into wire. So the wire goes under the tile. That's how I remember that one. You can have a substance that is both malleable and ductile, or you can have one that's either or. So an example of something that is malleable would be aluminum, because you get your aluminum foil. But aluminum is also ductile. You can make wires from it. What's something that you can think of that you make wires from? Okay, something you may not have found throughout your research is a characteristic property. So these are things that are describing a substance, and no matter how much you have of that substance, whether you have a handful or an entire bucket full, it's not going to change. So here are some examples of a characteristic property. So no matter how much you have, color will not change. No matter how much you have, the thing will still be magnetic. It'll still smell. It'll still have the same texture or hardness. Things like mass or volume are not characteristic properties because if you have more of it, it's going to have a different mass and a different volume. All characteristic properties are also physical properties. However, Not all physical properties are characteristic. So it's sort of like that whole square rectangle thing that you learned in math class. I hope that this has helped clarify anything that you were confused about. If you have any questions, please bring them to class.